National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, presents a Bravo video event, the Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice. And on today's show, the transparency of income scenarios with Ken Davis, CPA. And now the host of the Business Insurance Zone, the whiz of the biz, insurance columnist Steve Savant. Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. We're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here from Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And I've heard that my co-host today, Ken Davis, CLU, CHFC, CFP, and CPA, has missed me when I heard that Eric substituted for me. Ken, thank you, and I'm back.
Good to be back.
I'm back in the saddle and ready to rock, and I can't wait till tomorrow's show because that's my wheelhouse. We're going to be talking about tax-free with life insurance. No caveats today because I'm not going to talk about it, but tomorrow, plenty of disclosure. But speaking of disclosure, I watched their shows, those Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday show, okay, yesterday's show. They started dipping their toe into compliance. No, it's not the bad word. It's the word of disclosure. We want to make sure that you hear the caveats, the disclosures, the disclaimers. Here's why. Because we are in a litigious environment.
Yes,
Ken, I mean, come on, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking about maybe getting more E&O, right? Just because we're really talking about things that matter. And I want to make sure that yesterday's show, our shows today, are covering off all these issues. Now, Ken, when we talk about compliance, we are into it big time here at Brokers Alliance. I've been doing a lot of compliance for BDs in my other life, trying to figure out ways of expression in the public domain. Mm-hmm. Once we moved off, and I saw your show Tuesday when you talked about the old combination annuity methods, right. Now we're talking about modernization. And everybody's into these tactics are huge, Ken, and they save our client taxes, which in my view is a big deal because the net spendable income, my take-home pay, is going to be bigger.
Right.
With some of these scenarios
right.
are really great, and that's why we're doing it. But I have to remind people that we're moving kind of away from certain concepts like principal recovery or the rebuilding. I think you used the term the rebuilding of principal. Let's map that out for a second. Tell everybody what it was, what it is, and why it's important to start using the right language.
Well, yeah, I'm concerned about this because the concept of a combo annuity or a split annuity has been around forever. It's a long-term, time-tested strategy. And one of the reasons we haven't heard much about it or seen much about it is because the old concept was dependent on interest rates rebuilding. So I want to make it really clear. The old combo annuity is rebuilding capital or cash. The new concept is maintaining a level of income base that will guarantee income for life, which means there may be and probably will be less cash to the kids and possibly less to tax for the IRS, which isn't a bad thing.
Let's just
But make sure the agents understand we're talking about two very different concepts.
And sometimes the giveaway is still maybe you should do the older one if that's really an issue for you. If you think, hey, preservation, I got to have my money back at the end game. I want to hand something to my kids. Maybe that's a different story. But I got to tell you, wake up, America. We are going to be living so much longer. And these guaranteed income scenarios, I think, are going to be more important than having a couple bucks in your bank when you know that this could go past your life expectancy. I mean, they're not pricing this for your life expectancy. This could be a lot longer.
Well, absolutely. And, what we're trying to do here is we are shifting. If you look at modern products, we're shifting away from guaranteed principal, we're getting into guaranteed income. So this is really the old concept of, the seed corn kind of thing. The other thing, an observation I wanted to make is, we used to have the old style lifetime immediate annuity. Well, what didn't we like about that? There was no cash value to dip into, and there was no inflation adjustment, and those are all valid concerns. Well, really what's happening now with the indexed annuities with the lifetime income benefit riders is we're actually allowing the client to have a guaranteed income for a period of time, okay, but still have access to the cash. Now, they'd be crazy to get it because it's, it's going to kill their income if they take it. They're going to pay penalties. The non-vested bonuses are going to go away. So it's a crazy thing generally to do. But if they need to or really want to, they can. It's an option. But to a large extent, it's very similar to an annuitization concept. So the key is first our agents have to get their minds wrapped around the fact that the old combo is a portion's an immediate annuity, portion is deferred. The deferred grows back over that period of time. When the immediate annuity is gone, the original investment's replaced.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because Ken, check it out. We did do combination annuities, exactly the way you said it. We were doing a single premium annuity when rates were somewhere, and we are also doing this deferred annuity, which grew back to its original number that we started with. Okay, but check it out. We did that, and now they're all coming due, and we can't do it again with the same tax treatment because we had gain on the deferral.
Right. So we talked about that in the prior segments, is the taxation of all of this. But that's the old concept. The new concept is, all right, I'm going to split it or do a combo annuity, and now I'm going to actually layer it because I'm concerned about inflation as well. We want to overcome those concerns. So we're going to, conceptually, we're doing 5-year segments.
What do we give up? I'm just curious, Ken. Let's say, and I like your tactic because I believe it like you, but let's just say we're wrong and inflation doesn't come. We're going to stay static the way we are, and let's say another 5 years or so, maybe even 10. If that was true, again, I don't think, personally I don't believe it, but if we did, the way we're doing it, would that hurt us then?
Well, not really. If we design it properly, where we do a 5-year immediate, 2 5-year deferreds, and then the index with a lifetime income benefit rider.
So there's 4.
Yeah, there's actually 4 different annuities. The lifetime income benefit rider is designed, if done properly, that that income base will grow back to, let's use 100,000 spread between 4 annuities. That 100,000 comes back not as cash, not as principal, but as an income base. Okay. But cool thing is, now if I was 65, 15 years has passed. 5-year immediate, the deferred turns on another
Second
immediate,
one.
third one turns on another immediate. Where am I in terms of distributions on an LIBR? Typically at 80 what? We're talking a 7% distribution rate, whereas when we started off, it would have been 5 in the 60s, 6 in the 70s.
Let's make sure everybody understands why. Why is it higher at 80? Because I noticed their products are set up that way. 5%, what is it, in the 60s? I think 6%, 70s.
Roughly.
7. They're all different, and remember, don't quote me on this. But as you get older, right?
Right.
If you want to quote, now that you chuckled, if you want to quote, just call us 1-800-290-7226. The annuity department will be able to do it. It's extension 125. On the live side, call any of our guys at extension 147 when we get in that tomorrow. I want to make sure, though, that we understand that we have some playability here. And if I can forestall, right, if I can forestall some of this, I'm actually pushing my income up another point, maybe every decade, like one by the time I get to my 80s.
Well, that's one of the beauties of I've always liked about the combo or split annuities, that it gives us flexibility. The more pieces we have, the more flexibility. And the older we get, the better the annuities look. So both on the lifetime income benefit rider and the potential of taking whatever cash might be there, and it might be worse, might be better. We can look at what the distribution rate is on a lifetime annuitization at 80, and we know, because we have a short life expectancy, and that's why they're willing to up the guarantees to 7% in many cases on the distributions, because there's not that much time left to pay.
Okay, now I know we say that, Ken, but I say, I'm telling you now that the human longevity issue is going to, there's going to be some shock and awe at carriers.
Well, let's talk.
Think about that.
Let's talk about that. We've known for a long time that we're living longer and longer, and the tables get longer and longer. Gosh, we entered in the industry. 95 was the maturation date. Now we're going 121 and no maturation on life insurance policies. Inside all annuity and life contracts, and I rarely hear this said, but it's true. Inside all these contracts is a guaranteed annuitization factor. Now, we're anticipating using the lifetime income benefit rider, but we still have a base annuity. And in that base annuity, it says at age 80, you get so much for how much cash you get as a factor, right? Well, what if by the time 15 years goes by, modern medicine has gotten to the point where that guy's going to live another 20 years at that point? He goes and buys a brand new annuity. It's going to be at the new ages, at the new calculations. That old contract could conceivably add value for those annuitization values.
Well, I got to tell you, you're talking about the arbitrage between old and new products, new technology from the old 1980 CSO to the 2000, right? We've already seen this in the CSO. So we had people that dragged their feet. There were carriers that dragged their feet. They modernized the life side, but their annuity numbers pretty much stayed static. And it was like, people were looking there going, well, the rate of return isn't that great. Yeah, but they made the client, they put them on a timeline that made their timeline look shorter, which made their benefit higher. I know. And so we'll track all this. We're going and this is the thing. Everybody thinks, oh, we're automatically going to turn on the income. Maybe not.
Well,
maybe
and
not.
There's still the possibility, what if, and of course it's not guaranteed, but what if inflation really takes off and interest rates go through the roof and the portfolios are getting into higher and higher interest rates and they can buy bigger and bigger caps with their options? We don't think the index cash portion would ever stay up with these lifetime income benefit riders. But if they did, what if we got a lot closer and now we have a lot higher cash, we're 80 years old and the annuitization factor to knock it out of the park? We may not use the LIBR rider. We may use an annuitization.
Right.
The key here is flexibility. Segments of 5 years that can respond to interest rate changes, can renew at higher rates. We can change our strategies to longer term periods or not. When those penalty periods go away and we can do 1035 exchanges, we have options. So the key here in this segment is the compliance. We want to make sure you understand there's the old strategy and the new strategy. The agents first have to understand it, then they have to take care of making sure their client. And that brings us to a new point. Some of our clients we know either aren't all that numbers oriented, or they're starting to get older and they don't understand it quite as much as they used to. God bless my dad, he was an engineer and he was fantastic with numbers. But as the years go by, he became more and more like a child and less like an adult. And he did better than most because he's a very intelligent guy, but he needed some help. So in that case, we need to encourage our agents to make sure one of two things happen. Either a family member or somebody close that's independent, keyword independent, is there to hear the thing and evaluate and make sure this person is comfortable. We have to make sure if they're signing documents that they don't have a mental impairment which would make them incompetent to contract.
Ken, I mean, we're going down, again, we mentioned this earlier in the segment, we're in a litigious environment. Well, I'm kind of like, hey, if you can have the beneficiaries there, I think you should.
I think that's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
Them. Well, and let's take and make lemonade out of lemons, right? The opportunity of having kids or even independent advisors like CPAs is, if they see you treating the client appropriately, their mother or father or their client, and they see you're a good person, you may win them over. They may say, gee, I've been looking for a financial advisor, I need some help. Too often, we never meet the kids, the money passes, the kids go, gee, thanks for taking care of mom and dad, but I've got an advisor over here, goodbye. Right. So this is an opportunity to actually make a marketing effort of actually bringing on new clients.
If we sow to transparency, we're going to reap a new client base. That's how you play in the referral market, and especially when we're talking about playing with the fiduciary community, CPAs, tax and estate attorneys, and for goodness sake, if you're security licensed, your compliance department's going to love you.
That's
because
right.
This is the whole issue of transparency, compliance, making caveats, disclosures, making it and putting it all on the table. Well, listen, you're listening to the Business Insurance Zone, the talk show that focuses on insurance products in your practice. You can write me at the show's email, thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or just call us 1-800-290 extension 7226, extension 147. Ken will be and I will be right back after a Premier Providers commercial spot from one of our big players right after this break. Whether you're a professional planner pursuing a strategic partner or an insurance distributor seeking a national alliance, your business just went into overdrive. Now enter the largest resource of insurance products and services with unparalleled access to a worldwide audience of consumers through the National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, who can take your company and launch it into the stratosphere of success. With countermeasures, the most comprehensive carrier intel in the industry, the MASH unit with field triage underwriting and the premium tolerance test, the life insurance financial evaluation, the most rigorous policy review, and Bravo high-definition broadcasting with online social media. Your search just ended. Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant, your host, insurance columnist, financial color commentator, and at least in my own mind, interviewer extraordinaire. Yeah, well, remember, before moving forward with any things we talk on the show, especially this week, always check in with your CPA, your tax attorney, and if you're FINRA licensed, your broker-dealer compliance department. You can call me toll-free at 1-800-290-7226, extension 147, for any of your questions or quotes on life insurance, annuities, DI, long-term care, and group pension plans. It's not what I know, it's who I know, and that's why I only have the best on the show. And of course, today with us, my longtime friend, study group partner, and CLU, CHFC, CFP, and CPA, Ken Davis. Ken, you want to shake hands? Okay, fine.
Sure, why not?
He still likes me after all these years. And of course, the confession, if truth be known, when Ken first saw me back in the early 90s, and it wounds me deeply, he thought I was a snake oil salesman. I mean, because I sold insurance. But he finally saw the light, and of course, the way I converted Ken was I had to actually talk and actually quote sections of the IRS code, which was to him like nirvana, so he really loved that. Well, Ken.
Tefra, Defra, Tamra.
Oh my. Oh my, yes. Tefra, Defra, and Tamra. I remember that. We used to say, I had a comic strip in Broker's World that had the Uncle Sam marrying this woman called the IRS, or we called her Iris, and they had those three ugly daughters, Tefra, Defra, and Tamra, right? Well, have those three laws infringed on my practice? Oh my gosh, yes, over the years. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Listen, when we're talking about transparency, compliance, full caveat, full disclosure, really telling people this is what you're getting. The transition for our agent field force, the transition for you listening as producers it is tough, because we're actually making this segue over to more income issues, which means that I may be giving up principal rights. Now, we will have to measure, is that a good thing or not? And as Ken said in the last segment, we're going to look at both scenarios, not today, but when we go to trigger this. Is it better to use the income rider, which in some cases, Ken, we paid for this, so shouldn't we use it?
Sure.
But remember, our punt position, and it could be a tax issue here because of the basis retrieval on the exclusion ratio by annuitizing. That's a huge issue. You say, Steve, I don't even know what the exclusion ratio is. Just go ahead and write us at the show. I have a ton of docs on this. Always educational, always explanation, so that you understand. Because everybody goes, well, why would I annuitize? Well, there might be. And that's another thing kind of I like about it. No, we usually do the income rider. No, we usually do. But there are some scenarios and situations, and everybody appreciates us looking at everything all in. That's part of transparency. What's on the full menu during the distribution period? Well, I just named two classics.
Well, and let's talk about another transparency issue. We talked in the prior segments about taxation and some of these different types of things. One concept I'm not sure we really talked about or got through to our listeners is the fact that while we've been talking about combo annuities, reducing taxation of Social Security income, there's really that, we talked a little bit about that sweet spot. And let's remember that up to a certain threshold, and the tax report that they can send away for gives you the basis for single people and married people. There's a threshold that when you take adjusted gross income, add back in a municipal bond interest, half the Social Security, that you'll hit this threshold and then 50% is taxed. Then we hit the second threshold, 85% is taxed, and then we hit the maximum level. So there's going to be a group of people that this concept just doesn't work for. And so we have to run some numbers, and we can help the agents with that. There'll be a point where they start running into higher levels. Well, that doesn't mean it's still not a good concept. Reducing adjusted gross income can increase deductions that might have been phased out, exemptions that were phased out, or credits that were phased out. So there are additional benefits. Plus, for those that are in high AGI brackets, taxation of Medicare premiums.
Yeah, I know, and boy, I heard that was on your Monday show, and I'm listening there cringing because many of our seniors are paying because of the non-management of AGI. I just, honestly, Ken, we are exhorting I don't want you to become an aficionado on a 1040, but I want you to know the basic issues. And we give away on this show some great stuff to die for, and here's one. AXA's classic 1040 transparency overlay, which makes those little demarcation lines on line 20A, line 20B on page 1 of the 1040.
Yep.
I'm not asking you to go back and become a CPA. I'm asking you to just be aware of the highlights on the 1040 that can make a serious impact on net spendable income for your client.
Well, and maybe when you do this type thing, make a CPA your friend an ally and referral source by helping them see that annuities can reduce AGI. They can run it through their tax projection software and see that this does have a really nice impact. So now, what I wanted to get into with that, because we had stated that in the prior show, is, well, what do we do for higher income kinds of clients? If just the plain combo annuity isn't enough, is there something else? Well, there's actually two other strategies. One is to we've been talking about Roth conversions for years, and we know that a lot of people just go, ugh, that just didn't work. I don't want to pay the taxes.
Boy, let's just before you go too far, I'm just sorry. I have to get my little 2 cents in. I'm not going to save it for my weekend show. Ken, the Roth IRA conversion was everybody's ticket, right? Everybody was talking about this. Why did that so miserably fail?
Well, it failed miserably because people had to come out of pocket with money that, most of their money was in IRAs. And if you take the money out of the IRA to then pay the tax, then you create more tax.
Right.
And so if they didn't have assets sitting on the sidelines, it was just too much. And so, but if you're one of those rare persons that's willing to pay the tax and it works, that'll reduce the adjusted gross income permanently after you take that big hit in that 1 year. Now the Roth and other assets can provide the income. So that in combination with the split annuity or combo annuity could do it. But here's an even better idea, I think, which plays to our strengths as insurance people, is maybe we ought to take small portions of about a fifth or 20% each year for 5 years and fund what? A non-MEC life insurance policy. Well, you think, well, gosh, the client's 65 years old, okay? Yeah, but you got 15 years worth of annuities that can take care of that. We can slowly take it out at lower tax brackets, not have one huge hit. And here's the beauty. Some of the insurance carriers are now allowing loans even when there isn't a whole lot of cash up front. So you put the money into the life policy and then borrow it out immediately. You say, well, gosh, it's still my money. Well, yeah, it is, but we have variable rate loans and the potential of an arbitrage. Now, this gets into a very risky area. Whenever you do leverage and you're doing spreads and stuff like that with arbitrages, you have substantially more risk. So this is certainly not for every client that walks through the door. But for the more sophisticated or those that have strong advisors, that is a possibility. So when we get to too high a level, Roth conversions possibility, a payout over, say, 5 years into a MEC. And for people under 59.5, we talked about Section 782T. Maybe we take those distributions over a long period of time and fund a life policy until we do hit 59.5.
There's so many tactical responses to the strategy of tax-advantaged income, and we really need to look at it all, and that's what we do. And again, remember, if you say, Steve, I love all this, and I can see this as benefiting my practice, but I don't know what I'm talking about, kind of get a hold of Ken. And remember, you can call Ken right here, 1-800-290-7226, and we forward his extension right to his phone. It's extension 117 here. It'll pop right to his phone, and you'll see some of the things we're talking about. I really want you to benefit from the kind of consulting that we get from Ken all day long. A lot of our producers, especially in Section 79, we did that show, Charitable Giving, and wait till you see the blockbuster one we got coming up in April about income tax, and that's going to be something you're going to really enjoy. When we talk about the Roth IRA and some of these issues, because we really want to make sure people understand that we're full disclosure, that we want to make sure you see all the menu of choices, and not just the ones that feather our cap or our pocketbook, by the way. So when I'm thinking about this, I like this one little phrase you use because you call it the Goldilocks phenomenon. Now, I think you should do an article on this, Ken. I'm so sorry. You should do an article on this. Talk a little bit about that, the Goldilocks phenomenon.
Yeah, well, we all know the old story, and I think...
Well, actually, we don't have time for the whole story, Ken.
Well, I'm not going to go through the whole story. That's why I said we all know the story. Anyway, we got the papa bear, the baby bear, and the mother bear in the bed, and Goldilocks comes in and she chooses, well, this is too small, or this is too big, and this one's just right. Well, using this concept of layered annuities or combo annuities, split annuities, whatever phrase we want to do, is we're looking for the just right. We're looking for the mama bear type of thing where we find that there's substantial amounts on line 20B on the tax return, that their income is such that when we do the combo annuity, it actually reduces the taxation of Social Security. If they're not being taxed at all, who cares?
Right.
If they're well above wearing, that sweet spot for reduction, then that's not going to work either. So we have to be right in the middle of that, or we create that by doing the Roth conversion or conversion into a non-MEC life policy to get us down enough so that the combo annuity pulls us down further. So I know this is getting a little complicated, but it can be done.
Yeah. And we have all this information on modified endowment life contracts. We're going to be talking about some of this a lot more tomorrow in detail, but we're using every tactical, tax-advantaged vehicle that we can get our hands on, and then putting them in their proper space. I mean, we were talking about SPIA, couple deferred annuities back-to-back, and indexed UL for income later on. Maybe index life for all we know, right? I mean, it could be that we have to kind of map it out.
And we actually have a software package that will combine all this and will summarize the details so that this doesn't overwhelm both the agent and the client.
And it can do all these multiple strategies.
Right.
That to me is really cool. Now remember, we're kind of talking futuristic here when we start turning on the income way out in 15, 20 years from now. But I like the ability to kind of say, let's see what the roadmap looks like. I want to kind of do my Rand McNally due diligence today on how I'm going to get there. Remember, this is the line, the straightest line, the distance between 2 points, really straight line. I don't know. I'll let you know how the economy treats us, because all that could make us make detours and get the off-ramp, right? And I want that kind of flexibility. Well, Ken, I'm going to have Ken back tomorrow because we're going to get into this whole thing on tax-free. I think you're going to find it huge. Remember, you can watch this show, all our shows on beautiful HD 1080p, right on our on-demand section, right on our red button, right on our homepage at www.brokersalliance.com. And of course, you can go out to all our social networks, Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and where I tweet, Twitter. I love Twitter. I'm Steve Savant. You've been listening to the Business Insurance Zone. That's the buzz on the biz for today. Get in the zone, the Business Insurance Zone.
This has been a Bravo video event of the National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, one of the largest distributors of insurance products and services to a nationwide network of insurance professionals. Need insurance guidance? Call Brokers Alliance. Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice.